Greece. This morning, ISDA, International Swaps and Derivatives Exchange Association, came out and said there's been no default in Greece. No default yet. Right? Yet. Charles Farrell is in London to tell us all about this one. All right, Charles, I want you to explain to me, come on, how has there not been a default in Greece?
Good morning. And I will point out that I did stay up after lunch in order to come on this show, so I expect some.
You get props, full props. Thank you so much.
Let's just relax on the ISDA stuff. The sky isn't falling yet, but it probably will fall. So, you know, what they did today was essentially say, look, the fact that Greece has said it will or it could use collective action clauses to make creditors do things they don't want to do is not a credit event. But that doesn't mean they won't say when and if Greece does force creditors to do things they don't want, that it won't be a credit event. So it was a ruling that had a lot of headline, head scratching where you say, well, how could there not be a default in Greece? But don't worry, it's probably coming.
Yeah, it's almost inevitable, it seems, Charles. A question I would have is, if ISDA, for whatever reason, decided not to trigger CDS, what would that do for the rest of the peripheral debt in the market?
Well, you know, it's a tricky question because you have a lot of investors who have CDS as protection on their bonds. And when I say a lot, I don't want to get too carried away. There isn't a huge volume of CDS out there. It's not like every bondholder has CDS alongside his bond. In fact, only a small fraction do. But those who do are likely to want to see that insurance be used. I mean, you have a clear situation where bondholders are going to suffer in Greece, and people who have insurance policies want to see that the insurance policy pays up. And the question then for the other countries is, if it doesn't pay up, would you what would you think about investing in a Portugal or another country where you might face a similar situation? You know, would you buy a house in a low-lying area if the flood insurance company said we're not going to pay you if there's water damage?
Right, and and right now, you know, they are buying European debt. I mean, Italian 10 years under 5%, yes. First time since August. But Vincent, I want to ask you, and Charles, I want to get your opinion on this too. You now have a situation where, you know, really on the fly, the ECB comes in and they take their sovereign debt holdings and sort of cordon them off so that they are now, you know, they're now senior to everybody else. You have a situation with the default. CDS default, whether it's triggered or not, depends on, which seems like the flimsiest of reasons. What kinds of situations are we creating in the bond market that will really unravel, will make the bond market an unreliable place to invest?
Well, I think it's
I'm not being very clear there, but I think you know what I'm saying.
I think the CDS in Greece is something in the order of 3 billion euros out there. It's not a large amount, as Charles points out. I think it's more of a psychological effect, and you have to weigh. Again, as Charles pointed out, the low-lying area house. How do markets perceive the European bond market as a credible place to invest going forward if the ECB, for instance, or the EU keep putting in reasons and firewalls and excuses, effectively, every time something goes wrong? It doesn't give one a great deal of confidence. At least it doesn't give me a lot of confidence.
Charles,
I would jump in and just say that it's still the case that the likely outcome is that the CDS do eventually get triggered in a week or two. I mean, the Greeks want to do this bond swap with as many people as possible. When they say as many people as possible, and European policymakers as well, they basically want everybody to go along. It's very difficult to continue servicing debt after a restructuring swap like this. And so they probably will have to force some bondholders into it, and the CDS probably will get triggered, which in the end, after all of the hullabaloo, will probably confirm the utility of CDS in this case.
Charles, quickly, because we have to go, when does that bond swap offer close?
It closes, today's March 1st, so I believe it closes in about 10 days or 9 days.
All right.
So there's not a lot of time.
9 or 10 days of us sitting here every day giving the latest. It sounds like a lot of time, actually.
Can't wait.
Yeah. All right, Charles, thank you so much.